Using the TrueSize map creator, this is what the largest 15 countries and dependencies look like if linked around the equator, in size order and few overlapping points. In detail, Russia shows a 17.1 billion meter squared area when including water bodies, but percentages shown internally are just the land area. So 11% of the world's land. Note well that when bribed agricultural animal husbandrists pretend that parts of the world are ungrowable, they mean gradients not plowed by Western tractors, and soil that doesn't naturally grow a specific monocrop they need for their artificial maximum yield, a yield at the expense of the destruction of the ecosystem and resources for both human and earth health alike. Russia grows the majority of the world's grain, but only needs to utilize for sub 2% of the global population. Canada, 10 billion meters squared, and over 6% of the world's land, has more area than China. Seemingly less land, but that is inconsequential because all those freshwater bodies are now more important than the terra firma. China is bigger than the USA in all respects, but don't let China's 18.5% world population fool you into thinking that the Earth can't cope with that many citizens. Although that would be true if they were the same as the average gluttonous Americans, using up 6 times more resources than the Earth has, China's average 1.5 children per couple means their aging population cannot be replaced with enough new youth, so will face an economic and population crisis. USA's crisis lies in the fact they have 6,000 military bases, 750 of which are around the world and are consuming the likes of the Brazilian rainforest, who in turn will massage away the data of how many habitats are mined, logged, and desertified for your beef burgers. Brazil being larger than the continent of Australia, who, like India, being close to the equator, both look proportional on the Mercator-style maps. But let's take a bird's eye view and compare it to the expanse of the African continent, sitting on the equator anyway. And while we're here, compare China with India. India having 3 times less land, but almost as populated. But don't let that fool you. India has a perfect 2.1 children per couple balance right now, just as Earth somehow still balances its male and female inhabitants. Despite colonial straws sucking away, India, or I should say Bharat, are saving the Earth the most, with over half the people being vegetarian, not including the poor, and this is what the West lies about the most in trying to shove meat down a peaceful person's throat. We don't know how many vegans there are, because the most commonly polled objection was, what is a vegan? So to discern their environmental impact, we take it from the world's oldest man, by evidence of his passport, Swami Shivananda, I quote, "Why should I eat rich food like milk and butter when the poor and orphans like me can never afford it?" End quote. Yes, a peaceful Bharatiya averages the consumption for India 0.8 earths per person. Pretty in pink is Argentina, longer but thinner, puts it slightly ahead of Kazakhstan, while also harboring the largest aquifer in the world, so good for President Bush to tap later. Algeria, slightly bigger than the Democratic Republic of Congo, which in turn is slightly larger than the Big G for Greenland. Greenland looks huge. At 2.16 billion meters squared, it's practically the same as Saudi Arabia at 2.15. So after Saudi, that's Mexico with a rounded 2 billion meters, but a small population density due to having just 1.7% of the world's population. What do Mexico, India, and China have in common? More vegetarianism, to the extent you never knew. For China, if all 360 million Mahayana Buddhists live by their original Sanskrit tenets, that would be 25% of China's population being vegan. This is where peaceful spiritualism is key. The former polled vegan winners were Israel at 8% vegan, but now we have Mexico tying with them at 8% and a further 12% vegetarian. And yes, a peaceful diet is even more important to the earth than stopping fossil fuels. Calculated proof by system scientist Dr. Sailesh Rao. Finally, Indonesia holds the 4th most populous population. Conclusion. The top 15 habitations contain half of the globe's land and half of the world's population. So a cool natural balance there. From a chain to a necklace. Now if we use the same territories and almost overlap them on both sides, adding Antarctica in orange, we can squeeze another 50 areas across the equator. This time in red 8th position is Bharat, while much sooner in orange 16th position is Indonesia again. So skipping across the oranges, next orange is 23rd Niger, next is 30th Mauritania, next 37th Mozambique, close to Turkey, then Chile, which stands out from the crowd for being so shoelace-like. Next blood orange color is 44th Somalia. 51st is Yemen, just a little smaller than France. Penultimate, 58th, is Uzbekistan. Ultimate 65th is the regular Congo. The last to be squeezed before the monstrous mass of Russia, the 66th out of the 233 largest lands, is yellow Norway, including its Svalbard archipelago. Being so far from the equator, it looks huge. But in reality, they are comparatively tiny, representing 0.2% of the world's Earth landmass, the same as the United Kingdom, who would be in 80th place.